Hey, it's me, Hrishikesh Kannan, popularly known as Hrishi K. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon now to get the latest videos and get taken into a world of entertainment, culture, sport, business, and current affairs.
You know, Deepika, when kids want a career in radio, you tell them that you can write down your script, you can make pointers because people are not going to see you, but you must make it look as though it's not read out and you haven't written a script. I want to understand how the intimacy thing works. Do you have to rehearse it to the point of being mechanical? But obviously, it doesn't look mechanical on the screen. It has to look all passionate and charged up. But behind the scenes, do you have to rehearse it to the point of being mechanical? Is my question to you.
No, I think my approach to it is the way I'd approach a scene, which is don't undercook it, but don't overcook it either. And that's my approach to anything that I do, really. And so the same holds true for the intimacy as well. You don't rehearse it to a point where it becomes mechanical. In the same way that you don't overlearn your lines, where tomorrow, if the line changes or the meter changes or the way you're blocking a scene changes and it completely throws you off because you've become so rigid in the way that you've learned it that you don't know any other way of doing it. And also when you do that, then you're not leaving any room for honesty. You're not leaving any room to connect with the person opposite you. You're not leaving any room to listen. Yeah. And so I think the same holds true even for intimacy. The beats are given to you, but the rest of it is connection, and you have to trust your partner in the same way that I would trust my co-star standing in front of me, giving me lines.
What's up, Team Gehraiyaan? A long day, but thank you for doing this.
Hey Hrishi, how's it going?
How are you?
Your voice is vocus wala up, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the reception. Deepika, I want to start with understanding what your relationship with Dhairya's character is in the motion picture, because there's lots of stuff that's flying around. So let's just talk about that.
I think the characters between Dhairya and I are, when you see them in the film, they're sort of at least from Alisha's point of view, sort of at a crossroad in a sense of where she is in her life and where she would like to be. And I think sometimes that's a tricky place to be in, because you are grateful for the time that you've spent together and you're grateful for everything that you've had up until then. But sometimes you always look forward to something more. And long for something more, and that more is not necessarily a person. You know, it's a better life. It's a better life for yourself. It's better circumstances. So yeah, it's the sort of, I'd say, quite a difficult place, at least from Alisha's point of view. Because you also have Dhairya's character that seems quite content with what he has, but from Alisha's point of view, But from Alisha's point of view, she's a little bit at a crossroads in terms of where she's come from, the experiences that she's had, and the choices that she has to make here on, and the consequences thereof.
So basically what you're saying is they're not married as of yet. They're still like in a relationship. Yeah. So essentially,
they grew up as best friends in the film, and then that friendship grows into a relationship. So they move in together, and so they're in a bit of a live-in relationship for the last few years.
Yeah. So I just want to understand that, because as opposed to marital infidelity, it's infidelity in relationships that we're talking about. So good, we got that out of the way. Shakun, I'm just fascinated by the music. I remember when Ankur Tiwari worked on Gully Boys, first time I understood what a music supervisor really did. And I was just fascinated by the whole process. And here are you, I mean, a mainstream filmmaker, you've gone all indie. I mean, you're exposing these artists to a whole new audience. Guys like OAFF, aka Kabir, Lotika, they've all become household names, Savera. I want to understand how closely you worked with Ankur on this and how you nailed this amazing track list. I mean, there's another one that's launching tomorrow with a couple that we've heard so far have just knocked it out of the park. So let's talk a little bit about the selection of the tracks and then getting Kausar and Ankur to rewrite some of them from English to Hindi.
Yeah, so I mean, first person to thank is my girlfriend, because she introduced me to Kabir and Savera, and
Wow.
I was trying to find a new soundscape. And Ankur and I were meeting.
She's a woman of fine taste, and I don't just mean the music.
As you can see. I mean, her taste in music is way better than this. So, she somehow kind of gauged very early on that these will be the right people for the film. And she recommended a couple of people, and they were just absolutely bang on. To tell you, I wasn't still sure if they could pull off an album. So they came on board to do the score. And while Ankur and I were still meeting other artists, Kabir said, let me give it a shot. And he came up with a track called Falling, which then Ankur worked on with Kausar, and then that became Dubey. But listen, everybody on this panel loves music. And so I'm always really engaging with the musicians. I speak to them. I want to hear the mixes. I want to hear everything. But Ankur is phenomenal when it comes to taking the indie and bringing the Hindi feel to it. Because Kabir, me, Savera, when Dubey was made, at that time Ankur was not involved with the song, but then it became Dubey because Ankur stepped in, and Falling turned into a Dubey, and then Kausar wrote the rest of the lyrics. Gehraiyaan as a track actually had already existed, as you know,
in the English version,
as Frontline. And Karan Kapoor, who was one of the people who worked in my team, used it on a teaser. And I called Ankur and I said, I love this song. And Ankur said, give me a night, let me try something. And then he came up with the lyrics to Marz Hai Dawa Bhi, and that became that song. So the story is really fascinating. And honestly, we did the whole album and score in less than 8 weeks, which I have never done before. I think it's a very, very tight deadline. And I can only thank Kabir, Savera, Ankur to kind of put in, their days and nights to kind of just make it work. So
essentially, you moved from Test cricket to T20 cricket. Got it done.
Yeah, it did. And those guys are so good. And, Ankur was actually the best person for them to help them on this process,
But the joy of Test cricket.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot argue with that.
Yeah.
The classics are the classics. You're right. Sid, I saw a really interesting making video where you said you had song references for your character, as in that's what Shakun said you should have in your head. So I want to understand what those songs are, since we're all music lovers in the house.
Pretty random, actually. Whatever, so basically I made a flow chart of the emotions that, the film is about, my character, goes through. And the songs which which connect me to that emotion, I've, plugged it in. And some of them are Hindi, some of them are like mainstream Bollywood songs too. It's not like only, and some of them are very indie. So like a wide spectrum of, different songs which I use to kind of tune in. So yeah.
Give me some names, man. I mean, what is it? I mean, couple of song names. Help me build my playlist.
And sometimes Sid's choice of music isn't in the same way you would imagine it to be. He can have a very different track, but he knows how he's going to channel that energy.
You're really intrigued.
Sometimes
some Baba Segal in there.
There was 100%. Sid's playlist is what he needs for that mood. It's not what you think you would hear on that scene.
Yeah.
So for a romance thing, he can have a romantic song from the 90s from his Bollywood playlist.
Yeah.
And, you have pianos in your head, and he has like the whole...
No, but Sid's playlist is the most stealable playlist. Like every time he plays a song, I'm like,
yeah, but why don't you give me song name and names and artist names? Yeah.
Like for instance, you've seen that scene in the trailer where she's in the balcony and I come with a
bottle. Yeah.
Yeah. So the song that was playing in my head was "Niche Phoolon ki dukaan, upar gori ka makaan."
That's what I'm thing. You would never imagine that song, right?
And here Shakun and I are listening to something completely different.
Yeah. And I remember Sid coming up to me and be like, listen, can you just switch that off? And I'm like, what happened? He's like, just let me play one thing. And then he played that and I was like, I don't know what scene this is supposed to be anymore.
Yeah. But I was on the top floor and he was down and Shakun comes running up and saying, Dips, you have no idea the music that he's listening to get into the mood for this scene.
Yeah. Yeah, but whatever works for...
Yeah, whatever works. So much for having a Romeo Juliet kind of thing in the balcony with the girl in the balcony and the guy out there. But whatever works like this. Ananya, what was your playlist for to set the mood? You want to give me a couple of songs?
No, I had a song specifically.
Lots of Devdas music.
Yeah, that's
nice.
I mean, so for Sid's character, my feelings towards Sid's character, I had one specific song, which was Cold Mess, that kind of I just had to keep listening to it. I don't know why.
Pratik Kuhad. What a song it is. What a song.
Yeah. So I don't know, just there was just something about the song that, I don't know, I started listening to it on the first day when we shot quite an important scene, and it really stuck for what I guess Tia felt for Zayn. But I don't know, there's a song from Devdas called Hamesha Tumko Chaha, and I don't know why, it just makes me cry every single time. There's no reason, but it just does. So I guess I just have to play it. So one day Shakun walked into my van and I'm just like lying on the floor and listening to Hamesha Tumko Chaha, and he's like, what are you doing?
I got out of it pretty quick because I was like, if I laugh now...
There's no coming back. There's no relief.
No, and Deepika and Sid, before like every intense scene, they would put their AirPods on. So I'd be like, dude, does that really help? Does it get them into like the zone? And then they would like kill it in the scene. So then I started wearing AirPods, and sometimes I wouldn't even be listening to anything. But I just felt like putting those AirPods in is gonna like make me like something. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Modest Karwa, even before the first announcement of Gehraiyaan was out, remember you and me hanging out at the 83 promotions. And I said, man, what's happening in your life? And you go, I have a role in Gehraiyaan. So I have a role in Gehraiyaan is this. I mean, fantastic, man. I'm just so happy for you. I believe you had to work the hardest in terms of auditioning and things like that. Did life outside Aram Nagar help you? You know, going in and out? That's what all actors have to do, the hustle, isn't it?
Yeah, just hopefully come out from that. I mean, yeah, the hustle is real, and it took a month of auditioning for this part before I convinced everyone that I was the right part. I was the right guy for the part. But it felt good from the first audition itself, and it just keeps getting better by the day. So I'm just enjoying my life.
Sweet. Deepika, when kids want a career in radio, you tell them that you can write down your script, you can make pointers because people are not going to see you, but you must make it look as though it's not read out and you haven't written a script. I want to understand how the intimacy thing works. Do you have to rehearse it to the point of being mechanical? But obviously, it doesn't look mechanical on screen. It has to look all passionate and charged up. But behind the scenes, do you have to rehearse it to the point of being mechanical? Is my question to you.
No, I think my approach to it is the way I'd approach a scene, which is don't undercook it, but don't overcook it either. And that's my approach to anything that I do, really. And so the same holds true for the intimacy as well. You don't rehearse it to a point where it becomes mechanical. In the same way that you don't overlearn your lines, where tomorrow, if the line changes or the meter changes or the way you're blocking a scene changes and it completely throws you off because you've become so rigid in the way that you've learned it that you don't know any other way of doing it. And also when you do that, then you're not leaving any room for honesty. You're not leaving any room to connect with the person opposite you. You're not leaving any room to listen.
Yeah.
And so I think the same holds true even for intimacy. The beats are given to you, but the rest of it is connection, and you have to trust your partner in the same way that I would trust my co-star standing in front of me, giving me lines. So it's a little bit of...
That's a nice analogy. Sid, do you want to take this? Would you like to rehearse it to be not perfect? I know that Dar Gai did a lot of these workshops with you to reach a point saying that when I do that take, if I have to, reach out for a hand or kiss her under the ear, I've got to have it rehearsed. Or would you just flow in the moment?
I think it's for me, it's more to do about inhibition. For example, when I, for the first time in my life, stepped on a stage, and if a line was given to me, I would still learn it and I would say it, but I would really be nervous about it. The same applies here. It's about being. You can wake me up in the middle of the night and give me a line, and I can still kind of act it out. So that's the similarity here, because what Dar did to us was basically take that inhibition out, the perception we have about intimacy and the way we see it in Indian cinema, or the way we see whatever international films we watch. So that inhibition, was very important to go, and that's what she did to me. And then we kind of understood the nuances and how important consent is, comfort is. And when you get it, then it's just Shakun takes over and he directs the scene. He's like, okay, this is what needs to be done. And again, you can make me in the middle of the night and I can, still romance a flower pot.
Rishi, I think one of the things that I think would like to add to that is that the workshops, the mental and emotional prep, that's really what you're doing. That's what Sid is trying to do. Everyone's shy at some level. Everyone's at inhibition. So the workshops are actually trust building exercises like you would do in theater. It's about building that comfort with each other as a team, not just with one or two people. We were all together as a team because we all have to understand each other as people. And then, and that's why honestly, those workshops have helped us not just for intimacy scenes. It's helped us as friends till now.
Your girlfriend must be very happy because I saw some shots of you taking those workshops, my friend.
Well,
That's sweet.
Good taste.
Ananya, you're looking $1 million. I want to talk a little bit about your styling. I mean, it's fabulous. We have only the trailer to go by, but there's so many different looks and things like that. You want to talk to me about your costumes, your styling for the movie, please?
So Anaita was the stylist. Anaita Shroff Adajania was the stylist on the film, and I mean, I don't think there were like looks in that sense. I think this was the kind of film where
the Met Gala look we did.
Quiet. It
In
was
the breakdown scene, na, that
Yeah,
Met
I
Gala
was crying.
with a gown.
It's a Met Gala look.
I think it was extremely. It was very real to the characters. Deepika was playing a yoga instructor, so she would mostly be in like her tights and her sports bras and her jackets. And Sid, because he has the corporate side to him, he would be in suits, maybe shirts. I was playing someone who didn't really have a job there, but she would be like in a t-shirt, and I just felt like it was extremely real, something that I would probably wear in real life. But there were items which I felt that would bring me back to Tia immediately. Like I had a watch that I would wear and I'd have my engagement ring, and I felt like every time I would put those two on, I would just be transformed to Tia completely. So I feel like maybe everyone also has those 1-2 things in this film specifically, which I would just put on and be like, oh, now I feel like Tia, that way. But with the costumes, I think nothing was made to kind of stand out in that way. Everything was about honesty and realness and how probably people or even all of us would dress in our normal lives. Yeah.
So you still look $1 million, even your normal life. That's the moral of the story. Deepika, how good is your yoga good enough to pull off a yoga teacher? Or did you have a coach on set to help you? I know you do yoga in real life, but I'm just saying, is it good enough to pull off that?
Yeah, I mean, I did yoga some years ago when I first moved to Mumbai. I just shifted from being an athlete to becoming a model and then an actor. So in all of my athlete years, I had done so much of the hardcore training that I just wanted a break from that. So when I first moved to Bombay, I did some yoga. Then I did like other stuff in the middle. And then I got back to it. And it's so bizarre because I felt like this desperate urge and need to do yoga, but I wasn't sure of how to find the right trainer and how to go. I mean, I was just being lazy about finding the right person and like meeting them and understanding. And then Shakun offers me this film literally at the same time where I play a yoga instructor, and he had done the homework for me. He had identified who the instructor is going to be, who's going to teach me. And I continue doing yoga with her even now.
That was my pitch to her. Forget about the script. You're gonna
do yoga.
I'm gonna get your yoga code that you're looking for.
Awesome. Dhairya,
I mean, it just it worked at both levels. It worked for my character and for the role, and it's helped me in my personal life as well.
super. Dhairya, I understand that Deepika's character is at a point when, she's saying, I've got to move on. She's in a bit of a rut, 5-6 years and things like that. But I want to understand from you, what is it that she finds attractive in Sid's character, in Zayn's character, as opposed to your character? Is it because you're a bit of a slacker in the film? What's the problem in terms of that? Huh?
He's just too tall. They've not managed to look each other in the
God,
eye.
and is he tall? Is he tall? Yeah.
No, so in my character's head, in Karan's head, he's trying his best. He's doing his shit. Like, he's given up his advertising job, and here he is trying to write his book. So he's trying to do his bit. But I feel it's just two people who know each other for such a long time that and who probably from a neutral gaze aren't the best for each other. So it's like a bad habit that you don't know how to break.
Yeah, nice one.
This is the question I think he was waiting for all this while. Because that answer came, as you said, scripted but unrehearsed.
Last question to Sid. I liked one throwaway line which I heard. Somebody asked you, said, what's he like? You said he's a fox. I like that. Explain fox. Explain Zayn the fox.
Well, explain Zay. How do I explain that? I don't know. I just, when I see a character, there's something, there's some things that pop in my head, certain kind of music.
Like an animal moving like an animal.
Or maybe a person, maybe a car, maybe a plane, or I don't know, just objects, things, animal, people, whatever. So, for this one, I think a fox popped in my head because somehow, I don't know, I wanted to look like a fox, which is like sharp. And so I lost, weight. I kind of, I wanted to look like that. I wanted to look sharp, and I wanted to look, always ready, like a go-getter, you're not the lion of the jungle, but you aspire to be, one day. So you're ambitious, you know that you're wild.
I just hope you never see an ostrich in a character.
Otherwise, your head will be in the sand, my friend.
This is like running.
Oh my God, I just realized that I didn't ask anything about the OG, about Nasir Saab. Shakun, Deepika, he says one line in the trailer, which is a regular line, which is like, Alisha, you're in some kind of trouble, beta. And he elevates it to some dramatic Shakespearean proportions. I mean, what an actor. So, I'd like you to say something about Nasir.
You said exactly what my husband said.
My
He
sister
said
said the
Nasir's
same
in it for
thing.
one, like in the trailer, there's just one line of his, and boom, the film becomes something else. completely.
Yeah.
Rishi, I think it's the
It's the baritone
tone that you
voice.
guys have.
It's not his talent. It's not his talent. It's just his voice.
Just like you, it's not your talent, just your voice.
I will take that as a compliment. Okay. Guys, thank you very, very much. Can't wait to see it. Gehraiyaan on the 11th, Amazon Prime Video. It's an Amazon original movie with these splendid people and a whole lot more. Cheers. Have a nice evening. Be safe and healthy. Cheers. Bye.